I don't like traveling. I like going to places, but I don't like the process. When I took those trips a year or two ago to Israel and Turkey and England, being at those places was amazing. But dealing with the planes and the buses and the hotels, I don't know why I can't sleep in a hotel. You know, I have to bring sleeping pills. It's just, I guess it's because it's a different place. It's awkward. I like change, but there's some things that take some adjusting. And when I travel, I've got to be somewhere at least 3 or 4 days before I start sleeping normal. Is anybody else like that with new places? Okay. And it's kind of weird for me today, too. When I visit another church, it's a new building. I'm all right with that. I'm visiting. But this is our place. And the sound is different. And you're farther away. And it's different. Everything's different for us today. So it's all good. It's exciting. I've talked to people who say, I couldn't even sleep last night. I was looking forward to our first service. It's kind of cool. But be patient with us for a few weeks as we work out the bugs. And anybody who wants to help work on those bugs, we'd be happy to help you do that. I had just finished last week taking you through the book of Romans. And so I've got a bunch of topics that I'm going to be dealing with over the next several months. Topics that deal with life, for the most part. But I want to start by continuing where I left off for the last few weeks in Romans, because we've been talking about love. So this week's lesson is called Passionate Love. And if you're like me, the first thing you think about when you hear the word passion and love together is maybe a movie you shouldn't go see. Because passion has taken on a bad rap. That word is only sexually involved nowadays. Nobody thinks of the word passion in a good way. But obviously I'm using it in a good way today. And if you think about the word passion and you think about the word love, and then you try and tie it to the Bible, I realized that the Bible is full of love stories. How many of you recognize that ever before? In fact, it starts off with God creates everything, and he makes a man. And he parades all the animals in front of the man, and the man has to name them, right? What a job that might have been. I mean, we ought to call things dogs and cats because that's what they're called. What if you had to make up those names for the first time? What would you call these things? Okay, that's a barker. That's a fluffy-tailed, bouncy thing. That's how I'd name it. That's a long neck. That's a big nose. So he names them all camel, grasshopper, whatever. They all parade before Adam, and there's a pair of each of them. So a couple of bunnies, a couple of giraffes, a couple of elephants. He names them all. And by the time the day is done, and he's done naming animals, he says, God, where's mine? All the others had a pair. Where's mine? And for the first time in the Bible, it says something's not good. It says it's not good that man should be alone. And it's real funny. Nowhere in there does it say it's not good that a woman should be alone. We need you. I think more than you need us. But it says it's not good that man should be alone. So, God had him realize that. And then he put him to sleep. And when he woke up, he saw his mate, his soulmate, bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh. And he named her. And I will call you Life. That's Eve in Hebrew. Because you will become the mother of all living people. And God said, be fruitful and multiply. And they did. And from Adam and Eve sprang the entire human race. It's a love story. The first real story in the Bible is a love story. Now, tell me if you've heard of this love story, Samson and Delilah. See, it's one of the most famous love stories in all of world history. They've made movies on it. They've written books about it. It's a it's a good story and a bad story. There's this Jewish guy, fell in love with a pagan woman. Not supposed to get connected with pagans. It was against the rules. But he loved her, and he broke the rules. Not good, but he did. And the Bible doesn't say she was a bad woman. She always gets a bad rap. The Bible doesn't say she was a bad woman. But she betrayed Samson. I know she did. But do you know the rest of the story? Bad guys came to her and said, if you do not betray him, we will murder your entire family. Mother, father, brothers, sisters, everybody. What would you do? It's easy to stand here 1,000 years later and say, I'd never given him up. I don't know. Maybe you would have. So that's not about how bad she was. That's not what the story's about. But it is a love story. It ends in tragedy, sadly, but it was a love story. How about this one? Have you ever heard of, this one's not as famous, You've got to know the Bible a little to have heard of this one. David and Bathsheba. Let me see your hands. David and Bathsheba. David was already married to a few women. They did that in those days. I talked to a missionary once, because in other countries they can still do that. Polygamy is in like Islam and other religions. And the missionary said they had this line when they would talk about monogamy, one wife, one spouse. The missionary would just say, after they say, well, why do you only have one wife? He'd turn around and say, how many mothers-in-law do you want? Yeah, that was his line. He always got a laugh out of it and started a conversation. So David saw a beautiful woman. He fell in love with her, but she was already married. He didn't care. He took her anyway. We know that's wrong. The Bible's not condoning that. Well, she gets pregnant. Now David's got a problem, probably because David's a redhead. And if that baby comes out as a redhead, everybody's going to know it's his. Not to mention her husband was off to war. So how's she going to be getting pregnant? So David's first thought was bring him back from war so he can sleep with her and then everybody will think it was him. But he wouldn't do it. He said, my buddies are in the battlefield, I'm in the battlefield. So David had him sent to the hottest part of the battle, pull everybody else away, and had him killed. He committed adultery and murder. Love is a powerful thing. Lust is a powerful thing. But David loved her. He married her, and they ended up having a son named Solomon, who became the next king of Israel, the wisest man who ever lived. The Bible is filled with love stories. You can't get movies any better than these. In fact, there's an entire book of the Bible given over to the concept of passionate love, of the physical nature, of the romantic nature, that Jewish kids weren't allowed to even read that book of the Bible until they got married. It's like a rated R book. You're dying to know which one it is, aren't you? So you can go home and read it. Starts off like this. This is Solomon's most beautiful song. Kiss me tenderly. Your love is better than wine, and you smell so sweet. All the young women adore you. The very mention of your name is like spreading perfume. Ah, that's sweet. It's a Song of Solomon. It's written in modern English, so if you go home and read it in modern English, you're not going to get the rated R. You'll get the PG version. But if it was translated directly across and you understood the culture of the day, it would be a rated R book. But it's not a bad rated R. It's just for mature audiences. It's about love and marriage. So, passionate love, the first thing that comes to our mind is romance. But that's not the only way we can identify passionate love. There's other types of love. The love a man has for a woman is real love. But what about the love a man has for his son? That's real love too, isn't it? And how about the love a man has for his mom? That would be a different kind of love than he has for his wife, and a different kind of love than he has for his son. And the same man may love NASCAR. Different kind of love for NASCAR. And he may love his dog, which is yet a different kind of love. Love is multifaceted. It's a big thing. It's an amazing thing. And I think it's the thing the Bible is about. If I had to sum up the whole message of the Bible, I would say the message of the Bible is love. In fact, the Bible says this, 1 John 4:16, God is love. You think of all the other so-called emotions, God isn't called those things, but God is called love. Love is a gift from God to us and for us. It's the most wonderful thing there is in the universe. There's this poet, Browning, Elizabeth Browning, she said, love isn't what makes the world go round, it's just what makes the ride worthwhile.